What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while. I'm sorry. I really have not had much content to upload, especially with this car, considering most of the stuff we were waiting on. This thing has been a pain. Now, last night I put together this side just so I can kind of know what I'm getting myself into. I mean, I still got to put the inner and outer tie rod back on, the sway bar. I got to hook the wheel speed sensor, the brakes, new wheel bearing. There's I still have a lot to do, but mainly the focus on this video is there needs to be a tutorial on how to install these springs, and let me explain. These springs suck. Now, the quality itself, I don't know, but installing these things, they suck. I looked online on forums and everybody said that they're the worst to install on these cars, like the worst springs to install, because these springs compared to stock are a whole extra like loop around and a half. So to get that in there, I mean, it's already a pain to compress those and get it in there. Well, when you're compressing your spring, and if you use this kind of spring compressor, the part down here on the bottom, the more you compress it, the longer this will get. Well, then it hits the control arm, so then you can't get it in. So what do you got to do? You got to buy one of these big spring compressors, $65 later at Harbor Freight, and I have a giant spring compressor, but it works. I mean, you got to really like just send it home. I mean, get it as tight as possible, and then it'll go in, and then you got to fight with it because the one side will pop up, the other side won't, so you got to like rotate it. It's a pain, but I'm going to show you guys how to do that today. Now, for the rears, you don't really have to worry. Obviously, I'm not going to take it apart and uninstall it just for this, but the rears are just like any other spring. You just use your compressor, pop it in there, you know, jack the rear up a little bit. You know, it's just like installing any normal spring, but these are just an absolute pain. So I figured, hey, it'd be worth making a video on. Okay, so I made a clip earlier where I talked about this, but in case I don't include it in the video, I had to cut this bolt out right here because it was corroded in the bushing, just like everything on this car has been. And I actually have it right here. Yep, good old corrosion. So I had to cut that out, and then I had to get new hardware, and then for the control arms, to get the bolt out, the power steering rack needs to come forward. Well, the bushings were bad on that, so I had to replace that. And now I'm fighting to get the steering shaft back onto the rack, because now something is not far enough, and it won't go all the way, because there's a bolt that's somewhere right there by my crescent wrench that has to run through the steering shaft so it holds it in place. Well, I don't know what, but something's not close enough to each other, so I gotta figure that out. This thing has been a huge pain. Should have seen me yesterday crawling underneath this thing. I was covered head to toe in dirt. I ruined a pair of my shorts getting dirty at this thing. It has just been it has been a project. That's one way to put it. I cannot stress how happy I am to almost be done with this, so I can clean all my tools, clean all this up, because this mess is like stressing me out really, really bad. I mean, the coolers and stuff, that's unrelated. That was from something different. But like, there is just car parts everywhere, and it's gotta go. It's stressing me out. So thankfully this is almost done. But first things first, before we even focus on putting the spring in, we got to get our bushings on. Now, I had to get new ones because the old ones were shot, and plus the old ones are on there, and they're all like, they're formed to the old lower control arm, so it wouldn't give us proper protection almost, so that way there's no metal on metal contact. And then either way, they're old, they're dirty, probably won't come off easily, so I figured screw it, get some new ones. These are a little tricky to get on. You have to bend it, kind of break it up, get it loose. You don't have to make slots in it. I don't know if you guys can see it from how far away it is, But the old ones have slots in it to make it bend easier. On these, you don't have to do any of that. Take this. We might have to use some silicone if this don't work. But you should be able to just turn this on there. Yeah, might not have to. It's a pain, like I said. It's polyurethane. These are polyurethane bushings, so there's really not too much like flexibility in these. I mean, there's a good amount, but nothing crazy. So you're gonna, yeah, I'm gonna have to lube this up, try to get it on there, because this is not wanting to go on very easily. We are gonna do this out here in the grass because I don't want to get lube all on the floor. But take your industrial strength silicone lubricant, and you just want to spray down on the inside of this. And even if you wanted to hit this a little bit, you can, but I'm just going to spray on the inside here. It should be plenty, more than plenty. And then we just got to start working it on. Last time I had to use a hairdryer to kind of really get the polyurethane to flex. I don't know how well you guys are going to see this because I have to really fight with it. Well, after a lot of persuasion, a lot of lube, and a little bit of heat, I ended up having to use a hairdryer. I don't have a heat gun. We got this on there. And the other one, it was a lot easier because I let it sit on here for so long that it like formed perfectly to that. So it just slid on and off with ease. Whereas this, you know, obviously you just saw me take it out of the package. I haven't touched it at all. And now from here, we can move on to the fun part, which is using the jack, putting it underneath the control arm, and using this. I recommend having a second set of hands to help you get this tool on because it's a real pain. You got to get it like just right, you know, and then you got to sit here and hold it, take your impact, and just get it snug on there, and then lift it up and make sure it's all, like, see mine's, oh, and the arm popped out, cool. Let me tighten this down just a little bit more. And you want to try to get, let me see, there we go. Okay. So this is the bottom of the tool. This is the bottom of the spring, obviously. You want to get where the loop ends kind of center, lined up with the pivot point on the tool right here. So that way when you set it in there, you're coming in straight, and that will help you a lot. I'll show you guys here in a second. But once you fight with this thing and get it in there, tighten this thing down. I mean, just ugga-dugga this thing down. You gotta get this thing really, really tight. Now, here's the fun part. So you got to get your top bushing. Can't forget that, otherwise you will have an awful clunking noise. Well, I don't know, since these springs are going to be really tight, you might be fine, but I want like best comfort, but at the same time, you know, still the drag launch effect. So bushings. But like I said, this is the fun part, because as you see, I have my 3-ton underneath right here. And mind you, also you're gonna bend your backing plate trying to get this in. I'm just a fair warning, don't say I didn't warn you. You're going to bend the crap out of this thing. Take your loaded weapon of a compressor here, hope to God Harbor Freight quality is good enough, and then put that on, put your top bushing on, and now you're gonna do a lot of fighting because this is pretty heavy. At least, I don't know, in my opinion, it's kind of heavy. But up here on top is a ring. Oh, mine's got a little groove in it, nice. It goes in like this. You're gonna wanna get the top in first. Like just, I can't really describe it, but just kind of watch what I'm doing. I hope I have a good camera angle. So you go up, get it in there. This is where you also need a second pair of hands again, because it would be very nice to have somebody here to jack this jack up for me while I held it in place. now, when I do this, oh yeah, look at that. Right into place. Once you get it in there, hit the jack it up so that way it won't fly out of place or anything. And then from here, we can undo this. And at this point, it all depends on how you put it on because, oh, excuse me. Because once you get this off, you're gonna have to take one off at a time. Whichever one's easiest, then the next one, then the next. You're gonna have to turn the tool. So you just gotta kind of fight with it. So it pretty much depends all on how you compressed it and how you clamped it. Like I said, the end of the loop lined up with the tool, because the end of the loop sits like at a little bit of an angle. There's a notch in the lower control arm. So if you have it just perfectly lined up, all you have to do is just kind of turn it a little bit, like release some tension off and just turn it a little bit, and you'll hear it click into place. So let me take this tool off. I'll be back in a second. There you have it. Your Eibac Drag Launch Spring is officially installed. All these scuff marks on my beautiful new spring was from that tool trying to work it and get it out. And then the spring almost slipped out and flung up, and I probably would have lost a couple teeth, but thankfully that didn't happen, and I don't have to go to the hospital for a broken face. So now from here, we are going to put the spindle back on, and then our Lakewood shock sitting over there. First we're going to put the spindle on, we're going to get the ball joint nut tight, and then we will take the shock. I have the old hardware that was on the old shock, like this sleeve, this bushing, this cap, and then I got a new nut right here that will, I'll take all that, I'll put it on our Lakewood, put it through. And what's nice about this is since there's so much pressure with that spring and whatnot right there, that once we hook this up to the spindle, we don't have to mess with the shock to like, because the shock, obviously the top of it will spin with the nut, but if we just let it sit down all the way, it'll have enough force to where we don't even have to mess with it. We can just take the impact and run it. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here in a minute when we actually get all that hooked up. And then from there we can do wheel bearings, brakes, so on and so forth. I do have to run to the store to get another hose clamp for our boot, for our outer or inner tie rod, sorry. I mean, it's just little things now at this point, really, besides putting that whole side together. That's not really anything little. But enough of me rambling. Let's finally get this car back together. I can't wait. We might drive it today. I don't know. Only thing that needs to be done left is the brakes. Our sway bar links are tight. I'm going to go over our lower control arm bolts again just to make sure that those are tight. Our tie rods are in. We counted the threads to the best of our ability. I'll get an alignment for this thing tomorrow. Shocks are tight. Spindle, shock, bolt thingies are tight. I gotta go get some cotter pins because our ball joints didn't come with any. I got the grease fittings, or the grease zerks, for our ball joints because they also didn't come with that either. Wheel bearings done on that side, and yeah, other than that, it's just brakes from here. And I almost forgot this. On the steering shaft, how it connects to the rack, you got to thread a bolt in there. Well, I took that bolt out, and I almost forgot to put it back in, but I did. So I'm just running over like a mental checklist to make sure everything is done. I am going to clean up. I'm going to put all my tools aside and just start cleaning up because I'm going to pull this car out and then sweep, clean my tools. I mean, this will be the first time this thing's been off jack stands in months. I don't remember. I'd have to look on my videos to see when this was last off or on the ground. It's going to be pretty cool. So, yep, I'm just going to make sure everything's tight, put the brakes on. I'll see you guys in a minute. She's finally done. I mean, I got to put the wheels on. I got to lower it back on the ground. And then I forgot, you got to put this stopper on there. It's for the rear pinion. You got to put it so that way you have proper suspension clearance. It's 3 bolts. You drop the piece down. You undo the old one. You put this one in. So I'm going to have to do that real quick. But other than that, I have gone over everything like 3 times. The brakes are tight. The shocks are tight. The ball joints, the tire, it is all good to go. Steering's attached. I mean, everything is where it should be. Thankfully, we didn't need any brake calipers, so that's good. In the next video, we got some more stuff we got to do to this thing. We're not quite done yet, but I just wanted to make this video to give you guys a little update and to teach you guys how to install your Eibac Drag Launch Springs, because those things are a pain, but I got it. That's all that matters. We're at 307 subscribers. I could not thank you guys enough. I mean, seriously, that is such a huge milestone for me. All right, guys, that is gonna wrap it up. I gotta put the bump stop on, put the wheels on, lower it. I gotta sweep the garage, clean all my tools, put all these out for the scrappers to grab. Probably gonna use all these boxes for a fire, so that'll be fun. Yeah, I gotta do a lot of cleaning. I got tools over there, tools there, everywhere. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm sorry for the lack of content lately, but the fact that we've been waiting on parts to come in for this, it's really made it hard for me to find entertaining stuff to record. And I don't want to record a video if it's just a waste. Now, I might go on one of them where it's like you upload like a video like every day for like a month or whatever. I might go on that one time just to try it, but that's not what I'm about. I want to upload videos that people are going to either learn from or enjoy. So, sorry for the lack of content, but now that this thing's done, we'll have some good content. Don't you worry. I could ramble on, guys. I got to put this car together. I got to get some sleep because in the morning I got to get this thing aligned, take it for a test drive, make sure it's all good. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel. We have 307. Let's keep this number going. Thank you, guys. Like and share with your friends. I'll see you next time.